What is the dumbest thing you did in your 20s? Story 1. I decided against contributing to my company's matching 401k. It cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. This can't be stressed enough. If your company is matching 401k contributions, the single best thing you can do is contribute up to their match. That is an instant 100% return on your investment. Social Security benefits will not be enough for you to retire comfortably, and when you're over 50, it gets real tough to find work that pays more than minimum wage. Make saving a priority now. The sooner the better, because it is a cruel world for unprepared retirees. I prefer to say it is income. It is literally taxed and treated as such, but since it goes into a tax haven, it cancels itself out tax-wise. So when you don't match, you are voluntarily taking a probably several $1,000 pay cut each year. Imagine if your employer came up to you and was like, "Can I pay you $3,000 less this year?" When you don't match, they don't even have to ask. If the opportunity arises for you, now you know your response. It is the only logical answer. Story 2. Everyone wants to hear about the dumb stuff like driving 8 hours to get with someone you liked only for it to end up being a booty call. However, I personally think it was my general lack of effort to build any good habits like exercise. Your body likes routines, and my routine of gaming for 15 hours a day was not one I should have cultivated. This is such an important one. I'm 25, have wasted the last 8 years of my life being a typical Asian young adult, focusing solely on education and career instead of doing more to take care of my fitness and mental well-being. My culture brainwashed me into thinking of it as a good thing to sit at my desk and study for 6 hours straight instead of building a good habit of eating a balanced meal and exercising every day, paying for that mistake now. I'm in my late 30s and had stopped any sportive activity in my 20s. Early 30s, I spiraled into a major depression and basically didn't move at all for like 5 years. 3 years ago, I got better mentally. 2 years ago, I finally got myself to work out again, after a solid year of aches and pains, because as it turns out, bodies like moving and dislike not moving for years. I gained about 15 kilograms of weight since then, and my general fitness, strength, and well-being has never been better. I'm still ways off where I want to be, but I'm proud of how far I've come. And if I can still make those gains with nearly 40, you can definitely do it in your 20s. If healthy things are habits, they're easier to manage and repeat. If it's the same time, the same days, it's more of a muscle memory type of thing than having to think about it. Story 3. Not looking after my teeth. Still playing catch-up. Let my teeth go in college. Didn't get them looked at until after I finished AIT in 2020. Had them in a good spot for a while. Deployment in 2022 messed them up again though. It's so hard to fix your teeth once they're on the downward slide. I relate to this more than I'd like to. Had good teeth for most of my life until I fell into a very dark, depressed place in my late teens and early 20s, at which point I didn't care about anything, including my teeth. I got the help I needed a couple years ago and have been doing much better, mentally speaking, since then, and have been taking care of my teeth. I do all the right things, brush twice a day, floss, avoid sugary drinks, etc. But no matter how hard I try to stay on top of them and keep them in good shape, they're continuing to get worse, as I haven't been able to get the previous damage fixed due to financial reasons. Dental work is very expensive. Moral of the story for anybody reading this: take care of your teeth, or you will regret it. There is no worse feeling than being genuinely afraid to smile and show your teeth. I haven't smiled with my teeth in a couple of years now. Additionally, when I talk to somebody, especially someone new, I try to move my mouth as little as possible to avoid them seeing my teeth. Speaking of healthy habits, dental care is near the top of that list. Dental care is healthcare. If your teeth are not healthy, it can affect your whole body, and like this poster said, your mental health as well. Story 4. Worked way too hard and burnt out. Sacrificed family time. Sacrificed health. Need to pace yourself at the age of 20 to 30. This is me right now, 29 and totally burnt out. I refused to pace myself even with my chronic illness. I refused to address my traumas because I am a functional member of society, so why would I seek a therapist? And I refused to say no to things because I was afraid people would dislike me. Last year, I slowly started collapsing under all that. Things I repressed wouldn't stay repressed and cause child's nightmares. I had constant panic attacks when I got home from work and eventually bordered on agoraphobia, where I would try to flee the grocery store because everyone can see that you're feeling unwell and is judging you, and started making excuses to go work from home because the office would overwhelm me. I really wish I started addressing stuff sooner. I tire so easily now and am constantly anxious about not being productive enough. Now I'm at home, which is super counterproductive when your body is saying, yo, slow down. Please go find a nice hobby and relax. I was in an awful marriage, the actual dumbest thing of my 20s, but I also overworked. I didn't sacrifice time, but I did sacrifice my body. One of the reasons I can only manage part-time now is because I broke myself doing full-time plus when I was younger. At 24, I thought getting a salaried position was awesome. By 30, I realized it was ridiculous, and I had been exploited. I worked 70-hour weeks sometimes. There were days I'd get home from work at 3 a.m. and then have to report to work at 8 a.m. And none of the money from that time went very far. It paid rent in a so-so apartment. It got dumped into a car I ended up giving up when I got a divorce. It was poured into classes that never resulted in a degree because my spouse was resentful that I was going to college and she wasn't. She was free to do so, but she didn't want to. She just didn't think it would be fair if I got a degree when she didn't want one herself. Like I said, bad marriage. Anyway, now I'm 52 and I'm lucky if I can put in a 5-hour day without coming home a wreck and being out of commission for the rest of the day. Add to that a few disorders I always had, or was destined to have developed as I got older, and that's a formula for being far less employable than I used to be. Thank goodness I'm good at my job and live by the mantra work smarter, not harder now. I think one of the social changes we've been experiencing in the last couple of years is that people are realizing their worth in the workplace and wanting to have a healthier work-life balance. Story 5. Moved in with a girlfriend before finding out more about her preferences. We had been dating for a year, but I didn't realize how much of a problem she was having until we lived together. We did for 5 years and never shared a bedroom. Had everything split down the middle, including the pantry and fridge. Even when it came to spices, she insisted on me getting my own. She hated it when I would be in the same room as her unless it was under her terms. Whenever I asked to make our relationship more of a shared experience, I was gaslit into believing I was wrong for not allowing boundaries. She moved out a month ago and I couldn't believe how quickly my mental health improved simply by not having that toxic influence around anymore. Your friends didn't ever say, dude, what's up with this? And looking at their relationships didn't ever make you go, hang on. We kept our life at home fairly private. None of our friends knew about our living situation and we rarely ever had guests over. In public, she wouldn't treat me the way she did at home. I did see how my friends' relationships were going, which is why I constantly asked for more. I guess the first year was so good that I saw everything through rose-colored glasses. I thought maybe over time she would start to trust me more to share things. The last 2 years were constant fighting and I'm not sure you could really call it a relationship anymore. We were just living together. We broke up about 6 months before she moved out and I started seeing other people. At that point, I didn't feel any obligation to care about her feelings as she clearly couldn't have cared less about mine. I think time wasted in a bad relationship isn't necessarily wasted. You have to learn what love isn't before you can learn what love is. Story 6. I took powerlifting way too seriously. I spent 7 years in gyms, for hours every day, skipping every social occasion and holiday. I didn't get as strong as I wanted to. I just have all sorts of physical issues to deal with for the rest of my life now. Other side of that coin, I'm on the tail end of my 20s, and I have also spent 7-ish years in the gym training for powerlifting. If you, A, treat your body right, you shouldn't have to deal with lifelong issues from training. Eat well, drink more water, and above all, sleep well. Do things other than squat/bench/deadlift, like jogging, biking, yoga, whatever. Listen to your body. And B, take care of your mental health. Do not skip holidays, birthdays, or any major event to train. Years down the line, you won't be sad you missed bench that Wednesday, but you will be sad you didn't have dinner with your parents. The weights will always be there, but your favorite band might not ever do another show in your town. Powerlifting is a marathon, not a sprint. There is no one session that will ever be that important. You can go a week or even 2 without training and lose virtually no muscle mass or strength. Make time for other things. I've met some incredible people while training and competing. Strength is its own reward, and I've had a blast acquiring it. It's all about balance. I'm always surprised at the number of lifters on Reddit. I think that the number of weightlifters rivals the number of gamers on here. There's probably a lot of us who do both, but I swear whenever someone mentions lifting, it's like moths to a flame. Just an observation. Good luck with the aches and pains though. Sometimes I have to post outside of my frame of experience, and this is way outside my frame of experience. Story 7. Fell into a debilitating drug addiction. I will be 26 months sober on the 5th. 18 years this past February. It's crushing to think about how much it messed up my world and how excruciatingly stupid my decisions were back then, knowing all I know now. It's also mind-blowing how long life is. Life is really, really long. Enough to mess up, suffer the consequences, recover, work to rebuild, live with constant regret for years, and then notice that those years of regret are now a memory. If any of you are in the horrible part right now, just know that life can feel so good even after all that. No matter how far down the wrong path you're on, turn around. The sooner the better. I'm 25 with about a year and a half sober, but God, the amount of damage I had already done by 24. I have unseemly scars everywhere from surgery, self-harm, and track marks. Plus my teeth were messed up when I quit. It's so hard being in your mid-20s and feeling mentally and physically worn out. I wonder if it's similar at all for war vets. You survive a potentially awful, life-changing experience with potentially life-changing injuries or disability, and while you're still young, your peers are in a different place and just cannot understand unless they've been there too. Curious to hear if this fits. To be honest, it didn't start to feel significantly better till 1.5 to 2 years. Recovery is a very long road and sadly can have some long-term effects, but it gets better. My memory was really bad after drugs. I couldn't remember anything. It was rough for a couple of years. Now I'm 3.5 years out and my memory is as good as it was before. I hope things continue going upwards for you. You have to commend these people for making these huge changes in their lives. They didn't give up, no matter how hard it got. And to know it didn't get significantly better for more than a year, talk about delayed gratification. Story 8. Took a $12,000 loan to buy a motorcycle. Didn't want to pay for comprehensive insurance. Bike got stolen 4 months later. I took out an early withdrawal from my 401k to buy a motorcycle. Wow, that was dumb. That's not the worst outcome of owning a bike. It's not safe out there for bikers anymore. I know of one that got killed while stopped at a red light and another one got sideswiped and ran over while driving home from work. What an expensive lesson. It does seem like something someone in their 20s might do. Story 9. Not getting help for my depression sooner. Spent the entire first half of my 20s in the darkest place I can imagine, and all I needed to feel better was some meds once a day. I'll be kicking myself for a long time that I waited until age 29 to start an antidepressant. Less than a year later, I feel I've just started to experience life the way it's meant to be lived. Pro tip, sometimes depression is biological, and no amount of talk therapy can put a dent in it. If you haven't seen a noticeable improvement from talk therapy, pursue the medication route. For me, a lot of my worst depression symptoms/phases went away when I went on hormonal birth control. I don't know if there was just something about my natural hormone cycle that was destroying my mental health, or if it was coincidental, but I've actually felt okay 95% of the time since taking it. I know there are still things I should probably talk to a therapist about, lol, but it's nice to just enjoy being alive for a change. If your body won't make serotonin, store-bought is fine. Mental health is extremely important. Story 10. Not studying properly. At the time, studying for 2 to 7 years seemed like a lifetime, but now at 30 I wish I had done it. Don't have the money or flexibility to do it now. When I was 22, I thought finishing a degree by 26 would have been way too old and a lifetime away, so I did a 2-year diploma and started working at 24. I finished my degree when I was 32 and thought that wasn't too old. Wish I had just buckled down and finished sooner, but at the same time, we all take different paths. I was in the same boat and went back to school at 30. I didn't feel I had the flexibility or time, but my wife pushed me. I picked a solid field with lots of opportunity and tripled my income after graduating. It sucked, but it was worth it. My degree was in mechanical engineering. I had been convinced for years that I was incapable of learning math, and then used an awesome online tool to teach myself calculus. Once I had that down, even engineering was a breeze. The website is schoolyourself.org. Hey, I'm just trying to pass on some info and encouragement. That's my jam. Story 11. Broke a window with my forehead. Willingly. Don't ask. I got drunk a lot back then and I was upset and stuck my arm willingly through a glass window. The two things I remembered was being very, very cold and there was a pie-shaped wedge exposed on my arm and it looked really cool. It took many years to feel okay. I didn't stop drinking for another couple of years after that. I haven't drank since May of 1994, so I'm good today. Maybe tomorrow too. Who knows? And of course, I'm friends with Bill W. I did this once when I was around 7 or 8 at daycare. An older kid joined our class and was talking to a girl I was trying to impress, so I hit him with an empty Mega Bloks container in the head after he sat down beside her. He teared up and said he would tell on me, so I said don't be a wimp, and thought I would be in big trouble if he did. So how do I still look cool in front of this girl and not get told on? I said, see, I will hit my head on this window and it won't hurt. I am not a wimp. So I ran forward and hit my forehead on the window and it smashed as if someone had thrown a brick right through the center. I went, oh God, and ran to the other side of the classroom. When the teacher walked in, she yelled, who broke the window? And every single person in that class said my name and pointed at me in unison. I was mortified. They were going to kick me out of daycare, but were all astonished I did not get cut, thankfully. My mom ended up paying to have it replaced, and I got into a ton of trouble. You wanted to read about dumb things? You got it. Story 12. Drank my way through my entire 20s. After 25, it wasn't really fun anymore, but that didn't stop me. Drank for another 5 years. My 20s are a total blur, splattered with some fun times here and there, but mostly just me running away from things with alcohol. Almost 17 years later, and not one drop. My 30s and 40s are exceptionally better. I'm 31 and considering giving up alcohol too. I feel so much more lively and energetic when I haven't been drinking, and feeling drunk is just kind of overrated. Plus, hangovers just get worse and worse as you get older, and mine tend to come with a gnarly spike in anxiety as well. There's a huge difference between having a drink and enjoying the moment versus having a drink to enjoy the moment. Alcohol is a whole other animal as far as social pressure. It's considered not only socially acceptable but necessary by many. I find it interesting to see people's reactions to me saying I don't drink. Either they ask why or they look at you funny and are not sure what to offer you to drink. Try watching TV during sports programming and see how many alcohol commercials there are. Look at Facebook and count Wine Mom posts. It's rampant. Story 13. Drink and drive. A lot. Never got busted. Quite stupid. I am now 5 years sober, unrelated. I say this from the bottom of my heart. There are friends, taxis, Uber, Lyft, etc. Utilize these for yourself. A $200 Uber is still exorbitantly cheaper than a DUI or a funeral. Or child support. Tennessee passed a law last year that requires drunk drivers who kill a guardian to pay child support. That video of the girl in Peoria made me think that her response was indicative of much more than just her intoxication level. She struck me as someone so uncaring of others regardless of if she was drunk or not. As a recovering and still struggling alcoholic who has drunk myself into near coma levels, I can't imagine how someone could be so indifferent to the lives of others regardless of how drunk they were. In the hospital, the responding officer was sending a message on his phone to someone while questioning her, and she was laughing and said, "If you're Snapchatting right now and I'm not, I'm gonna be mad," and was giggling about Vegas. It makes me so mad to watch that clip. I suppose my point is, if you are even sound enough of mind to recognize that you don't want to wind up like her, you are far and away on a better path by just being able to recognize that. I know it sounds weird to say, as it should be the most basic of takeaways, but there are so many people out there that are incapable of such recognition, and that terrifies me. She deserves everything she got and then some. The poster is talking about a video of a young woman who was under arrest for drunk driving, having killed 2 people in a car wreck. She was worried about getting her car back so that she could get to classes the next day, and the officer with her kept saying that her car was destroyed in the wreck and she's not going to class because she killed 2 people. She keeps ignoring that and asking about her car and her classes. It's distressing to watch. Story 14. Went to Italy and forgot to eat pizza. Absolutely wins this thread. How could you? Also, now you just have to go back and eat double the pizza. I still can't believe that happened. I had pasta there, gelato, took some amazing photos, explored a lot, and when I came back, I was like, I missed something? Then I'm like, no, I forgot to eat pizza in Italy. Oh, to be young and forget to eat pizza in Italy. I've heard it's much different there anyway. The American version has much more as far as toppings and such. Story 15. I crashed a golf cart at 29. I was so messed up with road rash, both ankles were rolled and messed up one of my Achilles pretty bad. It took 2 years for one ankle to feel normal again. Still have a bunch of scarring. Have never messed myself up so bad before. The road rash and treating it all over my body was one of the most painful things I've ever dealt with. I am so careful in those things now, and honestly just everything in general. Luckily, I didn't hit my head. Doesn't really matter how fast they go. I worked in ER for a while and saw an 8-year-old die from a golf cart. Although it was the parents' fault, they let the 8-year-old drive his 4-year-old brother around unsupervised. They got pinned and were not found for a while. Watched the 8-year-old get his chest cracked open for the direct heart stimulus. He didn't make it. I didn't see the 4-year-old, but he didn't sound in good shape. Heavy things will mess you up no matter how fast you're going. Plus 15 miles per hour is faster than you would think. I messed myself up on an electric bike last summer. I was hauling butt down a sidewalk and a huge orange wasp flew into my ear and I reacted wrong, slammed on the brakes and sliced the side of my face open on a bus stop sign, which came out of the ground, and then immediately hit the front of my face and head on a fat wooden telephone pole that was directly behind the metal bus stop sign. I have never heard ringing in my ears as intense as it was in that moment. I hit my face so hard that it burst a blood vessel in my right eye, and I acquired a massive black eye as well as an egg lump on my forehead. I still have a scar that runs from my right temple to my right earlobe. I got so lucky because it could have been so much worse. Golf carts and electric bikes have never really entered my mind as death traps, but I guess anything can be. Story 16. Broke up with what may as well have been the greatest girlfriend I've ever had. 3 years later, I'm still single and think about her from time to time. Well, the short answer is incompatibility. We were together for 1.5 years, yet I felt like I was becoming increasingly alienated the more I got to know her. She is from a different country, so she had a different background. She also was my first proper girlfriend/relationship, so I guess I thought I wanted different things out of a relationship at that time. I guess I couldn't imagine us being together in the long run. I thought it would be best to cut my emotional losses, the sooner the better. I had a similar long-term relationship that ended in my mid-20s. It was absolutely heartbreaking, but as soon as my emotions subsided, I realized how doomed that relationship was. All the red flags and incompatibilities became more apparent in hindsight, and it started to feel like a blessing in disguise. I lost like 80 pounds and just got into a bunch of self-improvement, and it was great. I knew 100% with complete certainty that ending my old relationship was for the best. More recently though, I've been going through a rough patch, which started over COVID, and I can't help but long for the connection I had with her. It's not really rational, but I'll frequently have dreams where we're still together and I'll wake up and realize it was a dream and almost break into tears. I know that I'll eventually find someone who is right for me, and I'll look back and have no regrets. But for the time being, it's just impossible for me not to look back at my first real relationship with rose-tinted glasses. It's a totally normal reaction, but have faith in your gut. It sounds like you did the right thing, and it's really natural in my opinion to feel that longing, even if it was the right move. Eventually you will find the right person that ticks all the important boxes, and you won't really feel like you made the right choice until then. But for now, know that you did make the right choice, and have faith that better times are ahead. Had to do the same after self-reflecting for months with our fights and realized how they mostly started because of me. I realized how toxic I am to her, and I'll just make her life miserable without her even knowing. She seemed totally in love with me and was so vulnerable that if I let my guard down and let my inner demons run wild, I might gaslight her into doing something stupid. The only way I can make her truly happy is if she's not involved with me. 5 years passed and I still beat myself into thinking if I only got myself together and got help, I could have been a better man for her. I think this is another thing that people of this age group go through, the evaluation of past relationships and playing what if. Story 17. In 2007, I was living in Santa Maria Zapotitlan in southern Oaxaca, Mexico, helping out a colleague with his PhD research on the archaeology of the Chontal people. After a few weeks, the village council asked us to find the source of a stream that flowed from within a mountain, so they could tap it as a clean water source. They said to start it at the back end of a large cave about an hour's hike away. We got to the cave, got to the back of it, and saw 2 small caves honeycombing into the floor that were just just large enough for us to crawl into. We brought several headlamps, dust masks, and chalk. The two of us made our way down these caves, which began honeycombing even more into 3 to 5 passages per intersection. We drew arrows on the cave walls to help us find our way back. Some parts were large enough to walk through, others narrowed to the point that we had to crawl or shimmy through. Eventually, we lucked out and found a small passage, again enough to crawl down, where we found the stream flowing. Wouldn't you know, we even found some small intact ceramic discs at the bank of this stream that were used in other contexts to burn incense. The fact that people hundreds or even thousands of years before us did the same thing and knew where to go, given the potential for many dozens of passageways, still blows my mind. Looking back, there were so many different ways to die and never be found in those caves, and the entire purpose seemed overboard since they could have just tapped into the stream by running a pipe 100 feet up the mouth. Ultimately, I suppose we just wanted to survey a cave as archaeologists in the off chance of finding something. That's incredible and amazing, but the claustrophobia and fear of not finding my way back is coloring my enjoyment of your story. Glad you are safe and sound. It was complete ignorance of the danger on my part. Rather than an informed decision, it was my first time caving. Granted, I'm more impressed that the pre-Columbian people going in there were able to keep their torches lit, let alone having to relight them, considering how difficult it was to get to the stream. I'm at the same time fascinated and having trouble breathing after that story. Doesn't matter that they're telling the story, so they obviously got out just fine. Story 18. I cringe when I think about how reckless some of the things I did were, but I remember turning 21 while being stationed in Germany, coming back from Iraq and going on leave with some buddies, and did some touring around beautiful Europe. In Prague, we got some drinks, and the place we were staying at had open access to its roof. We went up and drank and took in the night view until we were drunk and sitting on the ledge with our feet dangling and joking about how loose and wiggly the bricks were that we were sitting on was. They were truly loose, and laughing about how stupid it would be to fall and die in a random street in Prague. Better than a random path in Iraq. So dumb looking back now 16 years later. A lot of people would have been so mad at me. I fully agree. Nuts to think about how reckless and stupid we were when younger. I unfortunately lost my best friend this way 6 years ago. Came back from a night out and he wanted to watch the sunrise from a sheet metal roof like 3 stories up. Could literally climb over the railing near the top of the stairs and you'd be on the roof. And there was a snow stop, but like maybe 1.5 meters out from the stairs. He slipped before he got to it and ended up hitting his head and passing away a couple days later. Heights and drinking now terrify the crap out of me. Glad you didn't fall in Prague, cause it is a pretty stupid way to squander what could have been a wonderful life. Good thing you're still around to tell the tale. A guy I knew was congratulated by the doctors on being so drunk that he didn't brace for impact from a 4 to 5 story rooftop fall. Had he even clenched, it could have been worse or fatal. Ended up with a lot of metal rods where intact bones used to be. It was crazy to talk to him about it, as you'd never know he fell that distance, but he'll definitely feel it for the rest of his life. Part 2 of You Wanted Stories About Dumb Things. Story 19. Literally nothing. And that's the dumbest thing one can do. Yeah, that's me. Had a nervous breakdown in winter of 2010/2011. Dropped out of high school. Would have been class of 2012. Got diagnosed with ASD/Asperger's on top of the existing general and social anxiety. Since then, it's been off and on therapy, testing different combinations of meds and doing nothing on the internet all day. Might have been making some progress even, until the world went into full meltdown in 2020. So here I am, 29 at the end of the month, still living with my parents. No job, no social life, let alone relationships. My dating history is 2 dances in high school. Just crippling depression over wasting what's supposed to be the prime of my life. Nah, I spent my teens and into my late 30s being addicted to multiple substances. The money I would have saved would have been tens of thousands. I wish I had done nothing, sober since 7/19/18, but still picking up the pieces and trying to mend relationships, all while dealing with several mental illnesses. I really thought I would have myself together by now, but spending most of your life high really messes up your brain. I hope this poster is doing well and still trying with the meds and therapy. A lot of people's worlds have been turned upside down by COVID in many different ways. Story 20. As a 22 male, just getting my life together, these are very informative. Thank you, everyone. As a 27-year-old male, reading about people who have messed up worse than me has made me feel a little better. Stories of people messing up their life more than me and still got their life back together are also quite inspiring. Hence, why I'm this far down in the thread, literally reading every response to this point. The first guy I liked would make the excuse, "I'm still getting my life together." Let me tell you, there is no such thing. No one has to have a perfect life together. Yes, it's totally understandable that we all have priorities to take care of, but don't let big things cloud your happiness. You can take breaks, enjoy the people and little things in life, and just take life in strides. Life is what you make of it, and we all have our own pace. So do I. I never dated, but the guy I liked first taught me that I don't have to just be perfect to be liked. I actually like a guy who wants to improve himself with me by his side cheering him on. He never wanted that from me. He was 23 or 24 and still hung on to the past and his regrets. Don't let the past keep you from being happy now. You can do this. All good general advice. I bid you good day. Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story that you would like to share, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.